Mike Saunders, good afternoon. Welcome in Friday's interview.
Thank you.
Who is Mike Saunders?
Who is Mike Saunders? I'm a consultant with the consulting firm Tomorrow Today. We're a futurist consulting firm that focuses on future trends and how they impact business today.
So you are the CEO of DigitLab. What do you? It's social media, the core business of DigitLab.
Yeah, so DigitLab is a digital marketing agency, and we handle social media, mobile apps, and a lot of digital marketing research for our clients.
So you don't do any search engine optimization in that?
Yes.
Because this is a word that is going. Some years ago, everyone was talking about SEO,
yes.
And now maybe it's going back in a normal flow now.
So search engine optimization is a huge business, and it is something that many digital agencies like DigitLab still do. But it's become a foundational element to the way in which we do marketing. It's not a new, innovative, exciting thing. It's an everyday thing. If you are not inside Google, you are not in business.
So what is important for someone to be in Google and have social media strategy? What is the connection within?
What is the connection between social media and
Google, to be in Google, yeah.
Sure. So Google primarily looks at your website, and Google is interested in what's on your website and what's the most relevant content for its users. And so that's where search engine optimization comes in. From a social media point of view, you're able to leap past your website and connect with actual people. And so social media allows you to create a more personal connection between the people in your business and your customers themselves. And that connection makes all the difference at the end of the day.
We have been talking about social media. What is the fundamental question is what is social media?
What is social media? Social media is any network that allows you to be, any digital network that allows you to be able to connect a person to another person. So in the same way that Facebook connects you to your friends and family, LinkedIn does the same thing, just in a slightly different context. It connects you to other business people. Twitter connects you to influential people. And all these different networks are there to help improve your connection. 10 years ago, social media didn't exist, and you couldn't actually start, build, or continue a relationship with a person through the internet. Now you can, because social media allows you to be able to see people, to be able to connect with them, to be able to speak to them very easily and on the fly.
So how does the story of social media started? Here in Mauritius we knew about high five.
Yes.
Then Facebook came, and Facebook is the number one in Mauritius.
Yeah. So social media has been around for close to 10 years now. What many people don't know is that LinkedIn is actually an older social network than Facebook. It started about a year before then. But I think that the network that really kind of tipped the scales was actually MySpace. MySpace got a really great global kind of recognition across the globe, and through MySpace a lot of people were introduced to this idea of connecting with people. And I think they lost out in a sense because there was a lot of complexity in how you set your Facebook profiles up, and Facebook themselves just made it that much simpler. All you had to do was add a profile photo and everything else was done. And out of that simplicity came an adoption rate for social media, which then extended right through to Twitter, to Foursquare, which later then changed its name to Swarm. We now see networks like Instagram, WhatsApp, and like the chat space, other networks like Snapchat that have come together. You have a lot of Chinese networks which are predominantly built just for the Chinese market, and there's a huge amount of market space for people who want to connect other people together, and we're seeing some really great businesses that come out of that. To the point that Facebook, LinkedIn are both listed stock exchange sites. They have huge collateral in the business space, and social media has turned into a really, really great arena of business to be a part of.
So for you it is important for an enterprise, a local enterprise, international, to have a page on Facebook or an account on LinkedIn. It is very important now?
It's hugely important. The best way I can put it is this. Most people get anywhere they want to in business because they know someone. There's a relationship that started somewhere. social media allows you to build that relationship, to be able to find the people who you need to build relationships with, whether there are brands and business and organizations, or in the business-to-business space you're looking for very particular people. Social media is about relationship, and the future of any business is the quality of their relationships.
What you would tell to a Mauritian entrepreneur, Facebook or his website? There are some concepts. Maybe I'm one of these too, but there are so much persons on Facebook. I bring it to my website. Or it seems that for emotions that we want to create it because it is free first, and that we don't need a webmaster, technical server, URL.
Yeah. From an entrepreneurial point of view, the truth is you need both. A website gives you search engine presence, so when people search Google for businesses like yours, you're not going to be found with your Facebook page. You're only going to be found because you have a website. But you're not going to be able to build a community of clients unless you really have a good Facebook presence. Your Facebook presence will become a really fantastic way for you to find and connect with new people.
When you say, Mr. Mark Saunders, Facebook presence, what do you mean? What someone must do? Any telephone number, an email, and that's over, he's happy as his page was started? Facebook page?
I think if anyone wants to take Facebook seriously, it's like any relationship actually. If you want to take a relationship seriously, you spend time talking to the other person. And that's what business needs to do. They need to spend time connecting with their customers. They need to ensure that on a daily basis they're connecting with their customers on an ongoing basis, as often as they can, with as much valuable content as they can. Social media is not about just being there. Social media is about taking part when you're there.
So, is there new careers can be done in that field? Someone will be in charge of the Facebook page in the coming years, because we know in Mauritius that there are companies that are specialized in controlling or managing Facebook pages.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you that. I mean, I for one, in our business in South Africa, we hire at least 6 community managers that are dedicated to just looking after social media accounts. And more those people are now coming in-house, and so a good friend of mine has recently taken up a social media management position inside one of our banks, and that's becoming more the norm in South Africa, that your marketing teams are made up of marketing managers, digital strategists, and social media community managers. So there's an entire career path for people who want to really get into social media.
So you think for banks it is important, as your friend came, he's in the banking sector, we know the secrecy about interpersonal relationship. Banks are interested to be on Facebook, not just to promote their services, banking services, other annexed services.
Well, I think any business that understands what social media represents in this context, that people are talking about you and people are talking about your service, then if you understand that and you could listen to that, you could find out a lot more about your customers than you've ever imagined. And so any business that is interested in improving themselves, interested in being a better business, interested in being around in the future, will use social media to understand their customers. And so we're seeing very high commitments from business all over South Africa and we're also working with people in Europe and in the States. Huge commitment from organizations to really understand their customers by the interactions that they're making with their customers through social media.
You have met some 40 CEOs in the last days in Mauritius for a meeting.
Yes.
What have been the approach to Facebook? I know that some are very pro and some are very cons. But we don't understand. Some either don't understand the importance to have a Facebook page.
Well, I think what was encouraging is that 40 people in very influential positions in their businesses came to listen to someone talk about social media. And that already says a lot for the Mauritian community from a business perspective and their approach to social media. I've been coming to Mauritius for the last 3 years and I've seen a huge desire to understand social media more effectively. So from that context, Mauritius is definitely moving in the right direction in terms of their business understanding of social media. what I noticed yesterday is that there are almost like a small group of people who really do understand social media and what it could really do, and then there's the rest of them. So social media at the moment, and understanding how to gain a competitive edge in business through social media, at the moment in Mauritius really feels like it's stuck with the minority. And that will all never change unless the industry around social media, the industry around digital, starts to share their information with other people. And then you'll see the industry grow after that.
Why is there that small group? Because they are willing to share that information, the rest want to be in the dark side.
No, I think that it's possibly a little bit of both. So the nice thing about being in business and ignoring social media is that whatever you ignore, you don't have to think about. And so if I don't have to think about it, it's not a problem for me. The challenge, though, is I think that there are some businesses that don't want to consider it because they don't understand it. And then there are also those that do understand it, that are seeing success out of it, that don't want to share that with anyone else because it is their edge in the market at the moment.
So what would be a good strategy for a Mauritian enterprise that is going to be set up in the coming days? So you would tell them, you do your website and you do your Facebook page in parallel, you say? What would be the strategy?
I think the strategy that I would suggest to you now is what I suggested to everybody yesterday, is quite simply, we need to take time to understand what we want social media to do for our business. Once we understand what our strategic objectives are, we can then build a really fantastic social media presence. We can build a playbook inside our organization that really achieves everything we're looking to achieve. If we could do that inside the social media space, then I think we'll see an accelerated growth and in the return on investment that businesses feel from social media.
When you encountered the photo motion, did they assimilate your message? You see some people go, oh yes, that's great, you have some type of reaction, or they were in their place just listening and having your experience, then now going to share it?
I saw both. I saw some people, and I heard some great stories of some social media campaigns that have done really fantastic things. Met some people who are running some really successful social media accounts in Mauritius, and it was great to meet them. And then I met a lot of people who were very interested, very excited to bring their brands back onto the social media landscape.
So you think there's a market for that, some old brands to rebrand due to Facebook?
So there's a music artist that we all know. Her name is Madonna. Madonna
Yes.
is a worldwide phenomenon, and she's been a worldwide phenomenon since she was 18. And what has been so fantastic about Madonna's career from a marketing point of view is that she has taught everybody the value of reinventing yourself. And over the last sort of 30 years, she has reinvented herself over and over again, both in style of music, the people that she appeals to. And in doing that, she has been probably one of the most successful musicians of all time. What I would say is we have to learn from that kind of mindset, that if you're going to be in business for a long time, you need to be ready to reinvent your business. Because if you are not valuable to your marketplace, then you don't have a business in the future.
So if maybe you've seen it, you heard about the emotion experience, but any SME, first thing they do, they want to have their Facebook page, yes, and their website. They have facility to have a website, yes, the SMEDA, the SMEDA, but it is a static free page HTML page. There is no interconnection. They can, yes, only put their products, and there's no e-commerce. Yes. What would you tell them to enhance, to be over the top, to do a very good Facebook page, while they are waiting to do the PHP, the ESP, yeah, website?
You know, any entrepreneur, my advice is quite simple, because entrepreneurs have a very simple challenge ahead of them. And that is that they've got to make money as fast as they can, because what helps a business run as a small entrepreneurship is that they have cash coming in. So whether you're on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, or you have a website, whatever that is, what many entrepreneurs fall into the trap of is just explaining what they do. In other words, I have a product and it does this. Instead of focusing on buy this product, it's more about what's on those platforms than it is about the platforms themselves. Entrepreneurs need to focus on leads and selling in order to be able to make sure they have a business in the future. Whether that's through a website or through their Facebook page, in a sense, is almost irrelevant. In my experience, I built a website, and a very simple website with a free platform that anyone can get their hands on. And I built a social media presence across mainly Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And within a year, we had a successful consulting business off the ground.
So, Motion is not used to Twitter. Do you have an answer to that? Maybe, but there are only 140 characters, but we want to teach and chat. There is a long way. They don't understand why Motion is not so fancy about Twitter, but they are into Facebook.
Sure. So Facebook, the nice thing about Facebook is it isn't dependent on you understanding a particular type of language. So you can take your own language, your own local environment, and you can use that within within Facebook. In Twitter, I call it a language of Twitter. There's a certain way of using Twitter. There's a whole new language called retweeting and mentioning and replying and DMing and direct messaging and all of these different things. And when you bring jargon like that into any network, what inevitably happens is that people get scared of using it because they don't understand it. And because of that, I think that there's a hesitancy, especially in the Russian public, to get involved in Twitter. I personally believe that will change. Twitter is a beautiful social network. In many ways, the value that people see in Facebook, they would see much more value out of Twitter as a social network. Twitter is primarily the reason why most people who love social networking have got involved in it in the first place. It's just a really beautiful social network. And I think that as people get used to the idea of networking on a social level online, they will slowly progress over to a Twitter mindset, and they will start to tweet more. And I think over the next year or two, it would not surprise me if Twitter becomes something that people get more engaged with.
So you were here, Moshe, to let us see what are the latest trend in social media.
Yeah.
What's the latest trend for coming years, months?
Yeah, look, when it comes to the world of social media, you talk months, not years. Because
it moves too quick. Why that month? Because it's like fashion, so for 6 months, there's one collection for the summer, one collection, one trend for winter.
Very much so. It just changes so fast. Last year everyone was going crazy about a network called Foursquare. This year no one's talking about it. I would say that also, just to given our conversations we had yesterday with the CEOs and executives that were at our conference, Pinterest is definitely gaining traction inside of Russian public, along with Instagram, and that would back up a lot of what we saw take place in South Africa last year, which is power to the image in a sense. That rich imagery is going to be the big difference going forward. That people don't necessarily just want to read text through their social media profiles, that they want to be enticed through great images and great imagery. It's the same as flipping through a magazine. We normally stop when we see an interesting image. And I think that's what Mauritius is kind of starting to see now, is that the power of the image is going to become more and more powerful in our ability to be able to attract the attention. On a global landscape, Instagram is really taking off, and Pinterest is finding its space, particularly in the retail markets, really adding massive value to the retail environments. And I think everyone's poised to see what takes place in Instagram with its recent buyout from Facebook. We're waiting to kind of see what Facebook is going to do with their platform to monetize that. But all in all, I think the future of social, in terms of people succeeding in social, will be those that really understand that social media is really a collection of what people think. And if you could analyze what people think, then you could really understand your business and your customer better than you've ever imagined.
But for Mauritius, what is the trend? You think we are going to in the image or in text, or a mixed of both?
Yeah, I think by the sounds of it, it definitely sounds like Mauritius is moving through this image phase, where imagery is attracting people. And I mean, recently working through a Mauritian page at the moment, the most popular content is really just high quality imagery. And just out of the interest that Mauritian public have in new networks like Instagram and Pinterest, that immediately shows you that there's an interest in image-based content.
So maybe in an enterprise there will be a shift. So you should have a very good photographer, or you're going to put images or events or CSR events, playgrounds, delivery of something or new products.
Yeah, I think design will become a lot more important and quality of image will become more important. So what we saw in South Africa a few years ago was that everybody was saying just whatever content you can get your whole, a little snapshot of your phone is fine. What we're seeing now is it's not, that you actually need to have high quality imagery to be able to attract the right people, or at least good content in that imagery. Something that's well designed gains a lot more attention than something that isn't. And so that for me is what, looking at Mauritius at the moment with this focus on imagery, I think that we're definitely looking towards a public that wants strong, rich imagery. And in that case, design becomes one of the best reasons.
Maybe in Mauritius, my Facebook page will be I will take snapshot from my iPhone or whatever phone.
Yes.
But for the enterprise, it would be high resolution.
Yes. Yeah, definitely, I'd agree. I mean, what you do in your own personal profile, that's completely up to you. But what people do when businesses approach people through social media, they really need to stand out from the rest of everything they're doing. And so high quality imagery makes a big difference in being able to stand out.
Will social media die one day?
No, it can't. It's too integrated into everyday society. I know too many people that cannot go through a day without connecting somewhere along the line to their social media account. It's become a part of our lives in much the same way as TV and radio have become a part of our lives. It's how people find out what's going on in the world. It's how people stay in touch with each other. If the networks themselves fail, I don't know if I could say that Facebook will be around forever or that Twitter will be around forever, but the concept of social networking will be around forever.
You just said maybe one day Facebook won't be in, LinkedIn won't be in for maybe some technical or financial measures. What will happen then? We are so used, everyone open his first thing. I think you and I do is we go on Facebook to have the latest information. Yeah. Maybe our family, maybe for you it's your customers. Yeah. So what happens if it is not there? What is the relation, the interrelation is gonna use?
No, we'll find a way. Humans are resourceful, and we're used to connecting across the globe with people. I mean, just yesterday, just sitting on WhatsApp having a conversation with my brother for his birthday. We're used to this kind of stuff. So should those platforms not be there available anymore, something else will be that we will use, because there's an inherent desire with the globalization of our public across the world. What we're seeing is that people want to connect with each other, and if you take that away from them, they will find a way to do it anyway.
Saunders, thank you very much.
Thank you.